as Joe alluded to, there's no way he and I would be so vocal and adamant about this if we didn't have a good feeling that they would at least consider it. We don't throw shit against the wall. It's not either of our styles. And the other thing that I think that we have a track record is that when we write something, it's something that we know is either going on or is probably going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I can say for myself, like I use that as a check as well. Like there's a lot of times that I'll have a pretty strong opinion on something. And as soon as you both write differently, I'm like, shit, I got to rethink this. Like first one is, I was kind of shocked when you were discussing on your podcast, Worst Seats in the House, the potential return for Filip Gustavsson. And so, I mean, if a trade is consummated, I'm kind of curious with what you've laid out for potential returns. Is this something that you would expect to happen pre-draft or post-draft?
I think at the draft makes the most sense. I don't know what you think, Joe. That's usually where this type of stuff happens. The other reason why is that if they traded Gus and they didn't get a goalie back in the trade, a real quality number 3, on July 1, they are probably going to have to sign somebody. Because you are then going into next season with Marc-Andre Fleury at 39 years old, turning 40 in November, coming off a not great year with a, unestablished rookie that, played well against the 2 lowest scoring teams in the league. So I don't know how much he proved in those 2 starts against San Jose or Chicago. So I don't know how you can go into it and just be confident with that. So you're going to need to probably sign a Thomas Greiss-like type player, an Antti Ranta type player, like somebody like that. Somebody that you're comfortable making your number 3 in the minors. Not that those guys are really considered AHL, NHL guys, although Ranta was this past season. So that's the only reason. But this stuff usually happens at the draft. And the reason why, again, is that there's probably going to be a draft pick involved. Maybe you're trading them for a second. Maybe it's to move up. Maybe it's in some other sort of thing. And that stuff usually happens at the draft. Joe and I are 100% convinced that they are going to try to move him this summer. No doubt about that. We're not 100% convinced that they're going to be able to move him. He's not coming off a great year. There's a lot of goalies out there. So it's not an easy drill. So there could be times next year, because they 100% want to get Jesper Wallsted more games next year. There could be times next year where if Gus is not traded, that we suddenly see Wallstedt called up and he gets a string of games. They're going to want to get – so there could be times next year that they have 3 goalies on the roster. So, maybe Joe has a better sense of what he thinks the return could be.
Yeah, I just think they're selling at more of a low than you would be of last season. Obviously, his cost certainty with his contract, which isn't bad in a big scheme of things if you get number 1 goalie at $3.75 million. The question is he legitimately number 1 goalie? He showed flashes of that last year. This year, the consistency was a factor, a problem for him. Like you mentioned, his mental approach was difficult, which is the most important thing for number 1 goaltender, establish consistency. So you're not going to be able to go out there and get a blockbuster. You're not going to get a top flight center for Gustavsson at this point. So you got to be careful of hey, you can shop him or you can listen, but if the deal isn't there, you have to feel comfortable going into the next season being like, okay, well, we'll carry these 2, we'll carry these 3, or bring up Wallstedt and play more games, but don't just give them away for nothing when you have no depth behind these 2 guys. And if you're saying that goaltending sunk you this season, how's it going to be any better next season? The guy who's played 3 NHL games, and Fleury, who quite frankly shouldn't be playing 40 games next year. He'll probably be playing less than that. So you have to keep that in mind if you're going to make a deal with a guy who can at least play 50 games. If you're going to say, oh, can I play Wallstedt in the NHL? Sure, but can you play him 40, 45 games right away, not knowing what will happen? So that's why there's such many layers to this move, even though I think that they will shop them and I think they will get some offers. What if it's not an offer that they like? And all of a sudden they've boxed themselves into these 2 guys, and Fleury could get injured. You never know. I mean, he's going to be 40 years old and not used to playing probably this much. So it's the most fascinating topic, I think, for the offseason for the Wild.
Yeah, and if you remember at the beginning of the year too, he had some hip issues that he revealed, in the second half of the season. If you remember, he missed some games, some time, and he clearly wasn't feeling great. And so, look, he's Father Time always wins. So